Now's the time to win your league. So today we're going to hit you with 6 trades to make right now for your 2023 Dynasty Fantasy Football. Because Nate likes going first so much, we're going to let him lead off. So Nate, what is the first trade that you are going to make right now?
I'm looking to acquire Dak Prescott. When we got the show sheet, I was like, who do I want to make moves for? I've been talking about acquiring Dak like in every audit I've done for the past couple of weeks. So I figured I might as well talk about why I want to go acquire Dak Prescott. Seems like fantasy football players are taking into account the actual NFL too much. And they're forgetting, Mike, that we play a game based on stats, not actual talent or the ability to win games or, do anything in the playoffs. And we know the Cowboys and Dak cannot do anything in the playoffs. That is for sure. Either way, it doesn't matter because this is fantasy football. And we score points based on how the stats look, how the box score looks. Mm-hmm. You're like, okay, well, Dak Prescott threw a lot of interceptions. How many of you out there playing in -3, -4 interception leagues? Probably not most of you, so it really doesn't matter. Remember Jameis Winston? He put up a ton of fantasy points through 30 interceptions in the season. Dak Prescott only threw 15. I mean, come on. This year, he was quarterback 13 on a points per game basis. Because remember, he did miss 5 games this year. I'm going to go ahead and compare his 2022 versus his career average. Show you that, hey, Dak actually had a pretty decent season. He's a great buy right now. Completion percentage, 66.2%. That's a good completion percentage. His career average is 66.6%. So right there. 23 touchdowns he threw this year in 12 games. Tied third most in his career for any season. That was at a 5.8% touchdown rate, which was his second best season. His career average is 5.1. He did throw 15 interceptions, like I said. We know that the Cowboys' situation at wide receiver after CeeDee Lamb was pretty sad. That is a position I do believe that they're going to be addressing this year. They might not be addressing it in the free agency because it's not a really good free agency class. At the wide receiver position in the draft class, there is some talent in day 2. I think they're going to go there, find a good wide receiver 2 to put outside of CeeDee Lamb, stretch the field a little bit. I think that'll open up this Cowboys offense a lot. I'm not sure what they're doing at running back, but the more they get away from Zeke, we know the more explosive this offense is. I think the things are looking up for Dak Prescott. He also had 7.3 yards per attempt in 2022 with a 7.6 career average. So really kind of had a career average season, a little low, not as well with interceptions, but more touchdowns. I'm moving a 2023 mid-round, first-round pick. The 105, 106. If you need a quarterback, you're a contender. This is a guy you can get. You need a cheap quarterback 1. Dak Prescott's the guy that can fill that for you. You need a good quarterback 2 for your contending team. Dak Prescott can do that. You need to upgrade. I would love to move Kenny Pickett and a second-round pick for Dak Prescott. You get a guy that is locked in with a contract. He's on a team that's committed to him. It's going to work out well.
Chev, what about you? This is a guy that I think we're all pretty high on here at the Dynasty Rewind. Stock kind of fell off in his sophomore season. I was expecting a lot more, as I'm sure we all were. What's a move you're making?
Yeah, the guy I'm looking to trade for is going to be Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is a guy that barely disappointed this last year. He really disappointed us because everybody was on fire for Elijah Moore. I mean, he had that great run in fantasy weeks 8 through 13. He had 34 receptions, 459 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And it was really hard to go acquire Elijah Moore at that point. I mean, you had to give up a first at least, it seemed like, to get him. We're seeing that it's not that way anymore. He was even saying he could play quarterback better than his quarterback this season. That's how bad it was for him. Did not pick up where he left off from last season. I know he missed the end of the 21 season, so that kind of hurt him a little bit, maybe missed out some time with the QBs and whatnot. I still like Elijah Moore. I still think he's an athletic wide receiver that, he can make big plays. And we're really just waiting to see who lands at quarterback there. I don't see the Jets not going up and picking somebody that is a very valuable QB. They're going to go for Aaron Rodgers. They're going to go for Derek Carr. Whoever it is going to be an upgrade to that position. And I really want to go get Elijah Moore before it's too late. You know me, I love Garrett Wilson. I would have put him on here, but I think it's already too expensive to go get him. Get Elijah Moore right now before the price gets heavy once they get a new QB. I mean, it's not going to cost you much. I see second-round picks going for Elijah Moore, whether that's 23, 24, or 25. Elijah Moore for Darnell Mooney. I mean, you can go either way, I guess. If you think Darnell Mooney's going to be the guy, I don't know. I think Chase Claypool's there now. They're going to go get a wide receiver. Imagine not in free agency because there's not many of them. Imagine they're going to draft a few. Elijah Moore for DJ Chark in the third. A lot of the trades, too, I see him as throw-ins. So this is the guy that you can get thrown into a trade. Awesome. He's got plenty of upside to make a big splash in 2023. I'd rather go get him now while he's cheap and hopefully reap the benefits.
I don't hate that at all. Like I said, we were all pretty high on Elijah Moore, so I like where your head's at there. Obviously, we're speculating, but that's the time of the year that we're at. We're speculating about what the Jets are going to do. My guy, too, it's a lot of speculation, and if I'm a rebuilding team, I'm trading for Jordan Love. Packers have a solid enough group of skill players. Aaron Jones, who did take a pay cut to stay with the team. A.J. Dillon, Christian Watson, and Romeo Doubs. And I do speculate, again, that Jordan Love is the starter next year. That's what everyone seems to be saying. I think he's a better option than other players that are considered starters right now, like Kyler Murray, who's hurt. Tua, I have some injury concerns about him as well. And any of these rookie quarterbacks, he's already been acclimated into a system. This will be his third year. So some of the trades that I've seen that I like that I think are pretty friendly for you. And this is a great move, this first one for a rebuilding team. A 24 first for Jordan Love and Isaiah Pacheco. Now, before the Devy guy says, well, there's better quarterbacks out there in 2024. I understand that. Two things. One, you have a year to get that first round pick back. And B, if Isaiah Pacheco is going off, you could trade him for more draft capital to get your 24 first back going forward, because you know Isaiah Pacheco is likely a short-term solution. Kyler Murray for Jordan Love in a 23 second. Great. So you're getting rid of Kyler Murray. You're getting a guy who isn't injured in draft capital. Gabriel Davis for Jordan Love and Kadarius Toney. Not really a huge fan of the Kadarius Toney aspect. There's some people that are high on Kadarius Toney, so you could get Love, flip Toney, or if you're rebuilding, you keep him and see what happens. And Josh Jacobs for Jordan Love and Terry McLaurin. I would think that Terry McLaurin's shelf life is probably longer than Josh Jacobs, where he's startable. But look, I mean, the fact of the matter is Terry McLaurin could have a fantastic year. If he's wide receiver 14 for the next 5 years for you, you can really complain about that. You just put him in your lineup, set it, and forget it. Nate, we are back to you.
This is probably not a surprise to anybody, talking about somebody that I have been invested in myself quite a bit over the past couple of years, and that's Deontay Johnson. I think he's a great buy right now. It was a really crappy situation this year for the offense in Pittsburgh. And we saw it between Mitchell Trubisky, between Kenny Pickett, bad quarterback play all around. But despite that, Deontay Johnson's a target hog, okay? 147 targets with two quarterbacks that he played with this year for the first time, and were in and out of the lineup. That is impressive. He's guaranteed volume. He is a target hog in just every sense of the word. It doesn't matter the quarterback situation. It doesn't matter the situation in the game. They're getting Deontay Johnson the ball. That is the Steelers' plan all the time. And with that, 147 targets, I'm happy with that going forward. I know he's going to be a target hog because I don't think George Pickens, as much as I like George Pickens and his talent, I don't think he's the kind of player to really eat into that target share that much. I don't think George Pickens is the target hog. Deontay Johnson is. George Pickens is the downfield threat in that offense. Love the targets. What I don't love in 2022, and the reason why he's a buy now, though, is he got 0 touchdowns. 0 touchdowns, guys. That's not good. That's not good in fantasy football. But that is an outlier because over the past 2 years, he has 15 touchdowns. In the two seasons before this season, 8 and 7. It's really weird that he got 0, but it's just showing you how bad the quarterback play was. If he had gotten, say, 5 touchdowns, that's less than his average. That would have gotten to wide receiver 22. We'd have been a top 24 wide receiver. We'd be looking at Deontay, I think, a little bit differently. We know the touchdowns are going to come back. That quarterback situation should improve. Kenny Pickett's got a full offseason as the starter. And hopefully, at some point, Matt Canada is going to be fired. It's got to happen at some point. It's got to happen. It was already good. It just wasn't super efficient, but I don't think that's Deontay's fault. Would I be willing to move straight up for Deontay? Some other players at different positions, Tony Pollard, Damian Pierce, those are two running backs who I think have a lot of unknown about them, and I'd rather go with what I feel like is a safe play with Deontay. He doesn't need to be your wide receiver 1 in your team, but if he's your wide receiver 3, even a flex player, he's a plus player at that point. I would move George Pickens for Deontay Johnson. I want Deontay Johnson over George Pickens. We look at the targets. We look at the volume. I think that's really important. If I want to make a kind of tier move, I'm willing to move Kadarius Toney, Darnell Mooney with an early third, late second, try to make that happen if I want to tier up to Deontay Johnson. And I even do that with, say, Greg Dulcich or a tight end of similar value. I like Greg Dulcich, but getting a wide receiver like Deontay, who should be able to continue to put up top 24 seasons going forward. I mean, we're talking about Terry McLaurin. I think Deontay Johnson needs to be looked at in the same light.
Yeah, so like with that last trade, man, I'd much rather go get a guy that is going to get the targets. I know what I'm getting out of him. Toney, not really sure. Dulcich, not a clue. Mooney, not really sure. Early third, late second, may hit, may not. Like, I'd rather get Deontay Johnson, who's going to get plenty of targets. I guarantee he's not going to score as many touchdowns as me this year. I mean, we all had the same amount.
Yeah.
He's not going to do that again. I'm with you on this. I like Deontay Johnson. Like you said, he's a target hog. That's what we love here at the Dynasty Rule. We want to find those guys that get 147 targets. Bad luck, he didn't get a touchdown. That's huge. You got to get those targets to get points. Yeah, I wanted to pick a guy that I really love, but then I also wanted to find a guy that had value. I was thinking, just do TJ Hawkinson. You really love that guy right now. You really love a couple other players, but I'm going to go with Mac Jones. Ooh. This guy last season, just the roughest year for a QB because he's out there balling with the DC as his OC. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall hearing what they were trying to tell Mac Jones to do, because there's no way they were giving him great advice. They were probably micromanaging the heck out of him, not really knowing what's going on. And I felt bad for the kid because he didn't really have that many good wide receivers either. He's still a good quarterback. He's not no slouch. He's a guy that threw for almost 4,000 yards, 22 touchdowns in his first season. Obviously, having an OC matters. I really like what he brings to the table. I think they're going to go out and get him some receiver help. I mean, we've seen what has happened when you go out and get a receiver to help out your QB. You go out and get Tyreek Hill. You got Tua being talked about being the MVP for the season very early in the year. Mac Jones is a guy that he has the ability. I just think last year was just set up for him to fail. You don't have anybody around you. Mm-hmm. It's going to be hard to produce. I'm seeing him go for a 23 second and a third, 2025 first, a 24 second, 2 seconds in Matt Corral, 24 third and Mac for Geno and 24 second. Like, this guy you can get cheap and he could just be, I'm not telling you go get him as QB1. Don't hear that. But if you can go get him for a QB3 at the moment, I mean, that's huge. You go give away a 23 second and a third, you're getting a guy that I think bounces back this year. And who knows? I mean, there could be a person in your league that has him and they just might be done with him. They saw last year, they got Bailey Zappi coming in, taking over. Like, they could be super excited about Bailey Zappi. Oof. I want to go get Mac Jones because I believe in the kid. They didn't go get him for no reason. You have to give your QBs a chance, and I hope Bill Belichick sees that. I hope they go make moves to help him out this upcoming year. But I think I'm going to get Mac Jones because of how cheap he actually is right now. His value has just plummeted.
I am buying Jonathan Taylor. I think he regains his 2021 form. Shane Steichen is the new sheriff in town, and he's really good at utilizing the run. We saw Miles Sanders having his best season as a runner with over 1,200 yards last year in Philadelphia. Thinking he fixes their O-line and their quarterback situation. I saw a lot of mocks with them getting CJ Stroud. What better to help along a young quarterback or even an aging veteran? Indy has some good wide receivers too. But if you're competing, this is the guy I want to try to take me across the finish line. I'm willing to sell the ship to do it now. Here's some trades I found. Now, before you leave any nasty comments, these are all real trades that other people did, and it's courtesy of DLF's Trade Finder. These are trades that actually happened, okay? Not by me. 224 first for JT.
Money.
Sign me up.
Money.
Sign me up. Joe Burrow for JT, Terry McLaurin, and a 23 second. Yes,
Value-wise, obviously, it's the package, but I understand, man. If you need a top quarterback, you get it.
Straight up 23 first for JT. It didn't say where it was. I'm going to assume it's early. If it's just this, because that was within the last week or so.
It better be the 101.
And last one. Now, this one I'm kind of torn on because, again, if you're competing, this one could go either way. Austin Eckler and a 23 second for Jonathan Taylor.
I think that's easy, man. I think it's easy. You get 4 more years of youth with JT. I would probably move Austin Eckler in a late first for JT. Absolutely. Yeah, to get younger and get one of the top running backs. Yeah, easily.
Yeah, and you know what you're getting with JT, right? You're going to get 20 plus carries, probably 5 passes thrown to him. Like, Austin Eckler is probably going to see a little decrease, so he can probably keep him healthy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I can see going for that. I mean, JT is 24 years old. Like, he's got plenty of time left. I think Eckler's like 28, 29, maybe a little older. I'm right there with you, Nate. I would agree. I would do Eckler and probably a late first if I needed to get JT.